security for Israel is everything. And as long as the Arabs don't understand that concept, they're never going to advance in the peace process. In my opinion, there are two major historical events that guide current day thinking in Israel in terms of their defense policy and in terms of their foreign policy. And the first one is Masada. Masada was in the year 70 when a group of 980 Jews and with their wives and children were holed up in a citadel above the Dead Sea called Masada. And the Romans set siege to it, which lasted several years, I think, if I remember correctly. And rather, when they realized that the defenses were going to be breached and they were going to be captured, rather than accept capture, because they knew that their women would be sold into prostitution and they would be made slaves or killed, they killed their women and children and then killed each other, and there was no one left. The way we know what happened is, according to Josephus, one woman hid with her 3 children and got the story from them. But the symbol of that is that today, modern recruits in the Israeli army take an oath that Masada will never fall again. So that is still very fresh in the minds of the Israelis. And as long as the Arabs don't understand that, there will be a disconnect. The second, of course, is the Holocaust, which every time someone like Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, opens his mouth is to say it never happened, which just reinforces the state of siege mentality in Israel. And so this is one of the things that the Arabs really need to understand, is the need of security for Israel, which is paramount to moving forward. The second point is the Palestinians who never, as the former foreign minister of Israel, Abba Eban, used to say, they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. And unfortunately, that is still very much true to this day. You look at what is happening between Hamas and Fatah, between Gaza and the West Bank. Had they had their act together, they could have had a state a long time ago. Third issue, of course, is that the Israelis need to realize that the Palestinians need to be treated with dignity, and they need their own state, and it has to be a contiguous state. It can't be Bantustans, as is the current case today. So until these two sides begin to accept and understand each other, which is Conflict Resolution 101, I believe, they're never going to get anywhere. A couple of years ago, I was at a conference in Switzerland where Giora Island, who was a former national security advisor of the Israeli government, said something very interesting. He said, the reason we're not getting anywhere, although we know the problems, we know what they are, everybody agrees, it's the security for Israel, the right of return of Palestinian refugees, final border, the status of Jerusalem, give or take 5%, at the end of the day, this is what's going to happen. What had been outlined by Bill Clinton just before he left the presidency, when he was trying to, in the last days, push through a peace agreement, said this is what's going to happen, give or take 5%. Everybody agrees, yet we can't agree. Why? He said because the maximum the Israelis can offer to the Palestinians and survive politically is less than what the Palestinians can accept and survive. And the minimum the Palestinians can accept is more than the maximum the Israelis can offer. So if you follow that thinking, you understand the dilemma that we're in today. The bottom line is really the economy. This is what makes the world function. And although I'm not an economist and I don't understand economy, for me it's like voodoo. At the end of the day, this is what it's all about. And if you look at the paradox of the Arab world, is that you go to a place like Dubai that breaks the records, the Guinness Book World of Records, by having the most 7-star hotels in the world. 7-star hotels. There doesn't exist in any other country in the world. They have rooms with gold-plated faucets, service that is you think you want room service and it's there. It's amazing. Yet, on the other hand, they break all records in lack of women's rights and freedom of the press and individual rights. And if you look at the whole GDP of the entire Arab world, 240 million Arabs, is less than that of Spain. The whole Middle East, 240 million Arabs, publishes fewer books than Spain does. I get invited every year to the World Economic Forum at the Dead Sea, which is called the Middle East Davos. And they invite 1,400 people that they call the top minds, and I'm not saying that I'm one of the top minds, but far from that. But they invite bankers and economists and diplomats, and they sit there and they analyze the ills of the Middle East. And they dissect the problems, and they go over what the remedies might be, and agree that things need to change, but then nothing happens until the following year.